drops, no one knows. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down. Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown.
Hi, everybody. How's it going today? It is Wednesday, and I know that. You know how I know that? Because I had an audit this morning, and it was scheduled for 8:30 a.m. And I'm sitting on the couch with Ian and Harley, pajamas, slow start to the day. Phone call, my auditor. Totally forgot. Totally forgot. So I lied. I told him I was having connection issues. Give me 20 minutes. That's how I know it's Wednesday, you guys, because I didn't know. Hey, Melissa, how are you?
I'm good. How's everybody else doing? How's Harley feeling?
Harley is a-okay. He's on the he's on the floor. You can kind of see him there. He's there. He's loving the packing because I've got the mattress turned up in the spare room here, so he's got all the room in the world to hang out in here with us for now. But he's feeling much better. He actually ate, got his medication, had his treat today, his morning bone, no bacon and eggers for the last 3 days. So we're we're on the path, and we have 11 days left here before we can go home and he can roam the property and have exercise, and everything will be good. Everything will be good. Yeah, it's all good. So everybody is here. I think 39 people. Excellent. Glad to see such a small audience. I love those days. Yes, ma'am. Thanks for being here. And Amy, Missy is in and out. Thanks for stopping in. Missy sent me more pictures. Haven't had time to go through them yet. I want to make sure that I'm not going to dox anybody or, put anything up that's already been put up, but we're going to do that in the coming days. Trail hiker, thanks for being here. Hey, little black bear. And Kember, good to see you. Hey, Tam and Cindy, just the facts, ma'am. Seaweed, thanks for coming. Just the facts, ma'am. Shar Binks. That makes me miss Ori. Where the heck is Ori lately? Um, but thank you for being here, just the facts. Who else? Lori Green, good to see you. Hey, Lucy. Cindy B and Sesame. Miss Bell said hello to Melissa, and Melissa says hi back. Anybody else? If you are on here today, yes, Melissa. I'm just gonna, start inviting Melissa to join until because it's not fair what happened to Melissa on her channel. So we're gonna try to help her build the new one back up. Kelly, thank you for watching from Melissa's stream. Thank goodness you're on. I had resorted to Brad Mondo how-tos. I actually love Brad Mondo, but I get it. I get it. Colleen, good to see you. You guys, I wish I could tell you about my day. I don't know if I can or not. Maybe I'll get Melissa's feedback. Probably not. Belinda, you are all shopping with me right now at West Edmonton Mall. Lucky duck. I'm gonna stop in Sephora for me and smell the perfume. Love it there. Good to see you. Good to hear Harley is feeling better. Yay for home. Mm-hmm. Michelle, good to see you. True crime housewife. Awesome to have everybody here today. Julie, hi. I can see you. You're good. It must be a glitch on your end because we can see you. Michelle James, good to see you. And Snark Pants is here, there. And I think that's it. Oh, hey, Sailor, good to see you. Where is Grin? Anyway, good to see everybody. Thanks for joining. And Melissa, sorry. Hey, Bobby Joe, drive safe. Okay. Cheryl, good to see you too. Okay, Melissa, do you have anything you want to say before we get started? I wanted to ask first and foremost. So, for those of you who don't know, we were playing yesterday during the live, we were playing the full Wade audio. Melissa had gone through and she had edited out some personal information. Cindy had included her email address and some contact information for e-transfers and stuff like that. Melissa was good enough to go back and edit that out. But as we were listening to part two, because there was kind of a mix up in uploading, whatever, there was some information that didn't get redacted, and neither one of us realized that it was there. So we kind of abruptly ended the live so we could go back and try to edit it out. Wasn't able to do it and re-upload it as a live video. So Melissa was able to go through, edit it, kind of clean up the sound even more, and edit all the personal information out. It's been re-uploaded as just a standalone video for the audio only of like there's no commentary or anything to it. It's strictly just like we did with the Janie clips, strictly the Wade audio from start to finish, minus just the personal information. So if anybody's looking for that live stream from yesterday, it's gone. Same thumbnail, but it's in the video section. Okay. So thank you very much, Melissa, for going back and editing that as quickly as you were able to yesterday. And just looking for some main takeaways. Like, what were your main takeaways from that full length audio, Melissa?
So before I get into that, I want to answer this question here from Trail Hiker. What was the name of the prior channel that YouTube didn't like? Okay. It was American Justice, and it's not that YouTube didn't like the audio. Somebody turned me in and said I was a spam channel, and essentially that I was saying things that weren't like in my video. I wasn't going over what I said I was going to. So they turned me in. I reached out to YouTube and appealed it February 21st, and they left it and had taken it down. So I got a hold of YouTube a different way on Twitter, and we've had a very long conversation for almost a month now. And so on the 15th, I replied to them and I said, it's been almost a month. If you've not found anything serious enough for you to remove my channel at this time, I am respectfully asking that you return my channel to me because I have done nothing wrong. Their response was, we don't have an update yet. Well, we know you'd like to get this matter resolved immediately. We don't have a set time frame for when reviews are finished. We want to make sure our teams review the entirety of your content fairly and carefully. We'll get back with you as soon as we know more. So I do not have an update. I'm still fighting to get the American Justice channel back. That was just a few subs short of 500. So I've made a backup channel, which is this one. And hopefully we can get the other one back. As far as the Wade audio, it was very disturbing. I heard things once I cleared it up and was able to enhance the audio and clear up some of the background noise. It was very disturbing. Some of the things he was saying, not just about Daniel abusing the kids, but Daniel's kids getting him to abuse the kids or abusing them themselves. What he thinks happened to them, about them being passed away, buried in the woods. It was just very disturbing once I was able to clean it up enough to actually hear it better. And I also, on my channel, uploaded just the audio that's been enhanced. So I don't know. It was really, really disturbing.
Yeah, for me as well. So some of the tint portions I found amusing because I always think it's a good thing when I find people are terrible liars. Like I am a terrible liar. I cannot look somebody in the eye and just come up with a lie like that. You know what I mean? Like I can't do it. And it was clear to me that Tint is kind of the same way when it comes to being able to think fast, think up an answer, a bullshit answer real fast on the spot. So I actually appreciate that about him. Was a little bit comical. But some of the information, I mean, it was pretty heavy and disturbing. And like I've seen people say in yesterday's chat and this chat as well, just kind of the forwardness of it all and as easy it all came out. It's it makes me think it would be really hard to make that shit up on the fly. However, I would like to say that by that point you have to know that Cindy and Wade probably had discussed the possibilities at nauseum and had talked about like the history a lot. And so just like the rest of us, when you're saying what you think, even though we could be very convincing when we're saying what we think based on what we've heard, it doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. Now, am I saying that I think Wade is up there lying? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think he's genuine, and I'm thinking he's probably being as honest as he possibly can be about the situations that he can speak on. Um, but that was kind of my main takeaway, that how candid he was, and but it's also it I don't know, it's a little strange being that open about such things to a complete stranger, especially one, in my opinion, who was there to pick up a horse trailer with a Tesla, who was taking this horse trailer back to Queen Street in Halifax. If you pick up what I'm throwing down, like I feel like Cindy was suspicious of the whole story, but they still allowed it to continue. Um, and again, just Wade's very blunt and forward with what he was saying to this perfect stranger at that time. Just it was all a little odd, but disturbing. But I do thank Tint for his efforts there. It gave us a whole new outlook, I guess, on the lives that Jack and Lily may have been subjected to. Really quickly though, before I turn it back over, Chicken Whisperer, thanks for being here, and Nova Scotia Grown, nice to see you today. And I would like to say that we will continue to invite Melissa up. Some days she'll be able to make it, some days she won't. But you know, it is terrible what's happened to our other channel. So close. Wade made my mind up for me. Some distressing stuff in there, but one of the only interviews that did not seem rehearsed or practiced like others. Right. Angelina, I hope you're feeling well today. And Amy, thanks for being here. Yeah, the Arlo comment was very wow for you. Yeah. Um,
And
yeah,
something
and Tint just plays with his horse. I mean, there were certain parts in it you were just like, oh, go ahead.
something that hit me with it is Wade, even though I think they were suspicious of Cindy was anyway. I think Wade just, in my opinion here, and just how I was reading the situation, it's almost as if he just wanted somebody to talk to. He just wanted somebody to bounce ideas off of that he couldn't openly talk about with Cindy or Malehya or anybody else. So it just felt like, yes, he was talking to a complete stranger. Yes, he was saying some very disturbing things, but he was also just needing to vent, needing to talk to somebody, and Tent gave him that opportunity.
Absolutely. Hey, Roots, this is probably the biggest thing that I took away from Cindy's part. I thought it gave a better understanding of how strong Cindy is as a person and makes me even more upset that she can't speak up for her grandkids. She was very vocal about a horse trailer, absolutely. And I thought that there was value in playing that part because we get to hear. I mean, obviously, that's not her, regular everyday personality, but it certainly is how she deals with a perfect stranger. She is a very confident speaker, and she doesn't seem soft spoken to me. That the tone of voice does not scream shy. Um, but yet we don't speak up for our missing grandkids. It's troubling. It is. I agree with you.
Especially the way she essentially told Wade to shut up when he was trying to get her to sell the trailer for less. She essentially, I mean, she didn't tell him to shut up, but she's like, "Wait, I'm not selling it for less. I'm already taking, $1,000 drop on it." Like, she was very adamant, and it's like, why couldn't you be that adamant and that strong when it came to the abuse that you were clearly seeing with your own grandchildren?
Right. Agreed. Kimber agreed. Apparently Daniel's kids also said she put the kids in a room a lot too. Yeah. I mean, like I said, a lot of information. I think even with the cleaned up version, we can hear the audio better of stuff that we'd heard before. And I think it was very valuable. So if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it again. Like I said, it's a standalone video. You won't find it in the live section on either channel. It'll be in the video uploads. I thought it was odd Wade offering this information to a stranger, more so the kids were missing. Meanwhile, it was on playback. I bet Harley can't wait to free roam again. Yeah. Oh no, pancreatitis. That's terrible. I do find that Maritimers overshare quite often. I love that about them. And I've never had an overshare moment about this kind of situation with that kind of detail. But you're right. In my experience from a Westerner, the Maritimers, they like to overshare. He probably had nobody to talk to about it and was dying to put forward what he. And when you realize that somebody's maybe following the case and you realize that you have information that could lend to a adult conversation about things that happened, I could see it. I could see it. Fighting to seek facts. Yep, wanted to get it off his chest. In your opinion, thanks for being here. I haven't seen you before, unless you're just a new name. But thanks for being here today. It was good to hear Cindy and how sassy she was or is. I agree. Um, some Nova Scotians are like that. Can make friends with a fly. Absolutely. Every single person, most that I've worked with, have been from Cape Breton, but Nova Scotia nonetheless. Very friendly, very outgoing, very. They're not even approachable. They will approach you, no matter who you are. They just they just want to talk, 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 and they talk fast. She certainly is. I can assure you, people often pour everything out to an unconnected stranger. I agree with you, Melissa. I mean, Wade even invited him back to visit. Yes. Don't be a stranger. She don't come across as
I
someone
wonder if that
who would.
still stands.
I kind of doubt it. She don't come across as someone who would be told to be quiet either. She does and says what she wants and makes it clear. That's what I mean. She's a very confident speaker. She's not soft spoken at all. So I call bullshit on that one. Agreed. I got totally shut down in a Hidden in the Fog live where they were saying that they thought it was a setup like Wade knew, and I was trying to explain to them how Nova Scotians are. We love to talk. That doesn't make sense to me that they would allow Tint to come and record them saying all that shit for what purpose? Because it wouldn't have, an hour and a half wouldn't have turned into a 21-minute, I think was the original audio that Tint put out, if it was staged, if they knew why he was coming and what they were going to be talking about. I mean, common sense would lead one to believe that it was very impromptu. There's 86 people in chat. Oh, is there? 94. What are you guys doing here? It's like Wednesday. For sure, Wade sounds like a typical Nova Scotian. There's a good question. What do you call yourselves? Cape Bretoners, we call them capers. Nova Scotians, is there a short term for that?
Somebody said Newfies.
No, Newfoundlanders are called Newfies. If you call a Nova Scotian a Newfie, typically they'll get mad at you. Just saying. But everybody's saying that, yes, I'm originally from PEI and I agree with that comment about sharing. Char. Plus, we can be very trusting, I'll say. I mean, they're my favorite people to do pranks on and stuff here because they come here to work, right? They're fun to mess around with. Newfies are the best, not the same. Let's just make that clear. I am a fan of and I mean no, Newfies too, but totally different, right? Nova Scotians. Incognito. I'm going to call you incognito, even though the periods. Good to see you. I believe Wade seems like a genuine conversation. Very. I call bullshit on Malehya being shy. Anyone who has their own YouTube videos and post videos of themselves, I do not consider shy. It was a long time ago, but I don't disagree with you. But people do change. And you don't know, like, and let's play devil's advocate. Just say, and I don't know this is the case, but just say that she was being mentally, verbally abused and her self-esteem was taking hit after hit after hit. At some point, that would kind of take effect on how we want to engage with the public. Just saying. Too trustworthy. Yeah, we Nova Scotians do overshare. I will actually talk to a complete stranger. One day I was hugging a friend in a store. An elderly lady asked where her hug was, so I hugged her too. It happens out here. Even like, okay, so even in Mexico last spring, we went to Mexico and we were in like the swim suite. We didn't have a swim up suite, but the pool was very there wasn't a lot of people in the pool. So we used the swim up suites pool. And this couple comes swimming up to us. They're from Cape Breton. And we sat there and talked to them for hours in the pool. And yeah, knew their whole background. There she is. Hey, Ori. Mm-hmm. No banana. Good to see you. Karen Jones. Hey, blue nosers. Really? Blue nosers. That is fantastic. Incognito. I'm going to actually remember that. Blue nosers. I would like to know why my ex-mother-in-law never told me that. Because I don't know for sure, but I think she was from Pictou. If everybody knows a Debbie McKay, let me know. They're not Newfies, yes, ma'am. No, Newfoundlanders are Newfies. Nova Scotians apparently are blue nosers. Not staged, but planned on Tint's end. Absolutely. Wonder if he ever met Durwood asking for a friend. I believe he has, yeah. Don't ask me where I know that from. But I do know it might, I shouldn't say because I don't remember, but I know that Sonny has talked to Jim Walker. So it might have been something that he told her. I don't remember. But I do believe he has met. Yeah, right. New Brunswickers are called herring chokers. That's fantastic too. Not all of us overshare. definitely friendly and talkative, but I certainly don't overshare with nosy strangers. No, but I mean, you have to admit that some of you are. I've experienced it. Like I said, not on this kind of subject, but definitely oversharing for sure, for sure. Hidden in the Fog has been pushing that theory for a while now that Wade and Tint prearranged the whole meetup. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. She's free to think that, but I like to think common sense wise. It doesn't ring logical to me. I don't know. This is good. I have to go straight to the nub. Wade is no hero and Cindy no grandma, not interjecting when kids were abused. But Malehya, she totally disgusts me regardless of the issues she faced. Just my opinion. There are a lot out there that probably agree with you. Why is my phone buzzing? Can you guys hear me? Is everything going good? Usually I only get buzz, buzz, buzz when something's bad. Okay. Drippy. Haven't seen you forever. Thank you for being here today. We're going to go back in time to 8 months ago ish, because I talked a little bit yesterday about, just not purposely, it just came up. It just came up on my play next and I allowed it to play through and I was listening to it and it was very interesting what the behavior panel had to say when they did their video on Daniel. And I would like to say, I would love to see a new video by them. I know what some people think about the behavior panel. I also know what they think about Chase Hughes. You're all welcome to think that way. I choose to enjoy the content. It piques my interest. I like it. You're welcome to not watch, but this is what we're going to do. Only I was interrupted when I was playing it back today to decide what I wanted to play. I was interrupted by a very important phone call. But part 2, like the second video portion and their analysis of it is what we're going to focus on today. And we'll see how time goes. Maybe we'll go further, or maybe we won't. But I missed a bunch of comments and I apologize. Anybody or Melissa, do you have anything you want to say before we go here?
Nope.
Sorry, Harley is stirring. 1 sec. Okay, he's not getting up. He's just rolling over. I live in Cape Breton, and I thought past the causeway were mainlanders, us Cape Bretoners, 2 different breeds. Yes, it is. Yes, yes. So my ex was born, as were his brothers. We're all born in Cape Breton. But my mother-in-law, and I mean, we were never married, whatever, whatnot, whatever. But she was from, I believe she was from Pictou, but lived and raised her kids and her family in Cape Breton. They used to own the Irving, I believe, if that rings a bell. I don't know. Here I am, Tint, or Wade talking to Tint. Oh, what did he say? You're from Taiwan? Do you know so-and-so? Like that was, I mean, it was a little comical. Good for her. I'm glad. I hope she gets all the views. Hope she gets all the views. Fantastic. I'm not part of the competition. I have graciously stepped out. All right. Let's do this. Like I said, I'm going to watch the second portion and their analysis. I'm going to watch this straight through, okay, you guys? And then we're going to go back because I think, to me, looking back on it now with what I know now, I'm telling you, to me it was great. So, ready, Melissa?
I'm ready.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, it did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, "Yep, great, thank you. Come in
Yeah.
for a polygraph test."
Yeah, it took a little while to set up, and
When did you do that test?
I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I think most Canadians wouldn't have any idea what's involved with that. Can you describe the process? You go in and just tell us right from the start.
We go in, sit down in a big comfy chair, and they have multiple sensory pads. You have them underneath your forearms, you have them underneath your butt, and you have them underneath your feet with your shoes off. You have a sweat gland on one finger. You have a measuring instrument for blood flow that goes in and out of your hand. And you have a cuff on your arm for blood pressure to measure your pulse.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them. Just, it's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof, and your body doesn't know what to do because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive.
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere?
All right, Greg, what do you got? So we talk a lot about eye movement, eye accessing cues, and about internal dialogue. This is one of the single best internal dialogue indicators I've seen. When we say that, we typically mean a person's looking down and to their left. When he's asked the question about the date, watch him trying to figure out, okay, and I can't tell you what he's thinking, but that was the day I went here and here and here. And so he comes up with a date as he's figuring that out. He's rifling likely through a series of events that would tie it back for him. That we see in a lot of people when we ask a hard question that they should know the answer to. Where were you Tuesday? And they go, that's a different story. This is about a person who's trying to give you real facts. This is the beginning of when I start to say, this guy may be neurodivergent. You ask a hard question, there's only a way that he knows how to process the data, and he's going to hand it back to you in a different way than you perceive it, which means you need to question him very differently. And we're going to see, while this woman does a pretty good job of questioning, there's some missed opportunity there because she's not taking into account how this thing works. The other interesting piece, he shows the same level of concern when he's asked that as he did when he was talking about being a suspect. A little bit of wrinkling in the brow, not a whole lot. Then he gets to how pure facts work and how the actual poly works. Watch his hands come up. He gets animated. Fact-based answers, lots of animation. Complex concepts, not much animation. Has to rifle through and figure out what it means, works through it. But you can see him raise his hands, start to illustrate, but that when punctuating your brain's thoughts with your body, your hands, some item or that. And all those barriers, those closed up things we were talking about are gone. Remember, I say if you've got 5 pieces of body language, and those are gestures, illustrators, regulators, adapters, and barriers, those adapters and barriers start outnumbering the other stuff. It probably means you need to pay close attention. But this guy does it as a baseline, and I think we're okay. These concepts are giving him a hard time. That tongue jut out of his mouth at the first question that they ask him is a little awkward. It would cause me great concern if he didn't follow up with it pretty quickly, because he holds his tongue out of his mouth, not just a rejection tongue jut. Desmond Morris said was baby's first no. She should have asked a follow-up question here, in my opinion, because when he said the first question was, did you kill them? He didn't answer it. I would have said, so did you? But that's not exactly the way most people behave. And here's how I know that the guy is not neurotypical or does not fit the standard model. When she asks him a question about how he felt, what does he say? I would say, I was angry, I was enraged, I felt hormones rolling over me, I felt chemicals rolling. He answers in a very literal way. And a lot of people who are not neurotypical will answer the question they think you're asking with no concept of what you really meant by the question. That's the beginning of it for me. He doesn't answer with indignation. I was madder than hell. He just says, hey, I had these chemicals. And then she says, then when she goes into the second question, she didn't follow up either. So this guy gets past both of those, but I don't think he's doing anything out of the norm. I think it shows us insight into how his brain works, that he is going to answer a question a physical way rather than saying, I felt like this, I was angry, I've been this. And we'll find later the right question gets the right answer. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, really interesting, Greg. He seems very much in a world of things rather than feelings. I agree. He gets super animated on.
So I just wanted to pause there. I forgot how kind of long these guys go on, so I just wanted to take a little bit of a break. But I thought that was, it's kind of the same as what we had thought, but just a little, because I don't think we're gonna get to the point where he talks about Sadie, the Prime Minister of Behavior. I think she was one of their students, because you can go on their website and take a course, whatever. But anyway, she was working on doing what these guys do. And Greg up here joined her to do some analysis, or watch her do her analysis on Daniel and Malehya's first interviews. And at that time, he had a little bit of a different opinion of Daniel. Now, with this longer form, he's and he does come out later on in the episode and he explains some of the things that he thought at first and how he had changed his view. But I think he was very, kind of what everybody else was taking from him. This is very on point with what we were all thinking. Now, with Mark, and then when we go into Chase, those are the two that I find extraordinarily interesting. I do quite enjoy their perspectives on things. Really quickly, Melissa is it's her name here, Crime Time Chat with Melissa. Okay, my mods can post her channel. We don't want Melissa to be posting her own channel too much, because that's kind of what I think YouTube had an issue with the other one. So we'll get the mods to post her channel. Thanks, Melissa. Don't get yourself in trouble. Okay.
Yeah, I posted that as you were saying it.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Just
go
don't
shush
get
it,
yourself in trouble.
Lee.
Let's make sure mods just keep throwing her channel in there. But again, let's listen to Mark. Keep in mind that he does live in Canada. He's obviously not Canadian, but he does live in Canada. So like I said, it's interesting. So we're gonna continue on. And let me know your thoughts about all this stuff, and we'll start starring comments so we can come back to them.
On the polygraph stuff, and great illustrators. Like he's taking us through the whole thing. It's better the description of a polygraph than I've ever had from anybody, I think. There's sensors I've not heard other people describe there. So it's like, oh wow, you really paid attention to this.
And
Seems
probably
like
asked questions because he knew names for things.
totally.
I wonder what they would think now. Now that we know that Daniel actually allegedly went on and took courses and investigations and stuff like that, and I would assume he also looked up stuff about polygraph tests, because he was very analytical about his explanation. It wasn't like I was sitting down and explaining it to you from my perspective, because it would have been more about how I was feeling, how it made me feel, and the questions. Whereas Daniel is actually very specific about describing anyway, that was just interesting to me. If they knew what we know now, would they still be saying this? Interesting.
I think he was very involved with it, and very interested in it. Interested in the tech and the process, in the same way that he's interested in the process of sadness to anger, but we're not seeing the sadness or the anger. But he's interested in the process and the delineation between the things. So great baton gestures, which are the gestures that conduct along to the rhythm of the speech. as Scott would say, specific words and phrases, is a great way of saying it. We get good baton gestures from him, so his body and mind are very much in alignment. Hard to do that when you're making stuff up. And listen, why would he make this stuff up? So this is really a baseline of what kind of person have we got here? Somebody who enjoys the tech, enjoys the world of things, isn't quite so much engaged in the world of feelings. Chase, to your point, no change in those feet, radically, still crossed. It would take him at least 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to get up, to, you know, from that. So he's pretty relaxed, he's pretty calm in this situation. And you might go, okay, but why be so relaxed and calm? The kids are missing. Well, 6 weeks into it, he's maybe more a things person than a feeling person. He's from Nova Scotia. That might have some aspect to it. So there could be, and we don't know his relationship with the kids. We know he has more kids, but we're kind of predicting, well, if you have kids, you always feel the maximum amount of emotion for all of the kids that you have any relationship with. Well, maybe not all of them, maybe none of them, perhaps. I don't know his relationship with the kids. We're just going, well, a good person, a good father would have the best possible relationship with all kids, but that's not life. You know, this just doesn't work like that necessarily. I mean, great if you're a father and you do have a brilliant relationship with absolutely all of your kids within a blended family. Absolutely. But wow, tough, hard to do, you know, hard to do. My anybody who's in that kind of relationship situation, my hat is always off to them. I'm like, wow, that's real dedication. That's a real choice to go, I'm going to make the best of this relationship. That's not, you don't necessarily fall into that. You know, that's a choice that you make. There's an eye change and a pause around, are you accessory? This is a question he was asked. Are you accessory to, then pause, eye change, the murder of Lily and Jay? So it feels like he has to reach and search for the framing that he was given. It doesn't seem like it's a framing that naturally comes to him. So even with that, I kind of feel that he's having to use somebody else's framing. I'm wondering whether he thinks the kids have been murdered in some way. That's a framing that he's been given. He has to search for it again and deliver it. He doesn't feel that comfortable. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Scott, what do you got on this one?
Let me ask you something first, Mark. If this guy's from Nova Scotia, what do you call him? Like if you're from Ireland, you're Irish. This guy's what would you call him?
Nova
Scotian?
Scotian.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's any short. I can't think. Well, right, Nova Scotians. Hello, Nova Scotians. I know we have some out there. I definitely know we have quite a few out there actually who watch the show.
Yep.
Put down below whatever the shortened. You know, for example, if you're from Newfoundland, you'd be a Newfie. You know, if you're from Ontario, you're just an Ontarian. So I don't know whether there is a short one. Nothing.
Maybe we can come up with
It's
one.
beautiful country, man, from the pictures. Somewhere I'd love to live. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, beautiful.
All right. Okay, sorry. So when he says that unfolded in my favor, he lets out this big breath of relaxation. So that he's got some stress happening there, but I can't tell if that stress is from that bothering him or it's the stress is building up because he's afraid that's been put on him, in other words. So then he says, yeah, I was extremely nervous. Then he smiles. I think that's a nervous smile. I don't think that's again, Duper's delight in there at all. And a lot of times we see it like when he had that tongue come out, we see the tongue between the teeth, which it does have a little bit there. That suggests that we got away with something. You know, we see somebody do that. They've done a prank on somebody or they've taken something, they're goofing with them. But here it's mostly his lips touching his tongue when he does that. So that could go a couple of different ways. Go back to the Desmond Morris way that you were talking about, Greg. It could go, I'm getting away with something, but I don't feel like this cat is getting away with anything right now. Anyway, I don't feel like that. So that was really interesting for me. It may just be a nervous tick of his because he's licking his lips and stuff all the time in here. So, but we do see a nostril flare. We hear fading facts after he tells her what the first question was, which was, did you kill the children? And then the is the fading facts part. But it's not the fading facts part where you're being deceptive, where you give an entire answer and it keeps getting quieter toward the end like that. It's just that one word going, like that, because as he's thinking about it, it bothers him, not because he's being deceptive about it, but he hates that coming out of him agreeing with that or saying yes or addressing that situation at all. It probably bothers him. His blink rate's almost gone, and his eyes are real wide. And he does that classic looking at the person asking the question after he's answered to make sure they believe him. But I think it's to make sure he's being accepted, or that the question landed right, or the answer landed right with her. Not that he's waiting to see if she believes him or not. I'm starting to go with you, Greg, on this. You and Mark. I think there might be something up. Yeah, shoot, maybe you too, Chase. But I think maybe everybody said that. There may be something up here from a personality type situation. So then when he talks about the release of chemicals and talking about his feelings and all that, you could look at that two ways and say, well, he's feeling the rush for his limbic system. But then again, you could say, like you were saying, Greg, he's looking at it from an analytical position and saying, well, here's what happens when you're asked a question like that, or when I was. That's the way it was for me. Because he doesn't say brain, he says mind. He said he didn't say it happened in his brain, because we talk about the limbic system and things and chemicals and things. We talk about the brain, but he talks about the mind. Two completely different things. Mind housed in the brain.
He may not know.
Mm.
Right. I was going to say, you assume that. One thing I've learned about people who have like somewhere on the autism spectrum is if you tell a story, they tell a story similar, and they're not trying to one up you. They're trying to internalize it and turn it into something, feed it back to you. So you can see they understand. Very different mindset than you would know if nobody taught you that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Well, I'll leave it with that. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this one clip is an example of us coming at this thing from 4 different angles, which is great. I think this is astonishing. And let me start with a caveat. I'm not a licensed polygraph examiner, but I do own and operate 2 professional grade polygraph systems. And the systems that I own are proven to be over 90% accurate. They included a lot of advanced metrics like EEG and brainwave mapping and something called pupillometry, which is the micro pupil measurements, down to, I think, the 100th of a millimeter. So while I'm not certified under some standard law enforcement protocol, I'm not speaking from ignorance either. With that said, what's being described in this clip, if it's true, is idiotic, stupid. The subject says he was given a polygraph and that the first question asked was, did you kill the kids? Not only is that an absurd question to open with, it flies in the face of every basic principle of polygraph procedure. Any examiner with minimal training knows you begin with some control questions, neutral, verifiable, emotionally irrelevant. We establish some kind of baseline. And I think even more revealing than that was the subject, this guy, says all the questions were about the kids being dead and not missing. That frames the entire polygraph examination around an assumption of death, not disappearance. And what this does, it anchors that guy into a conclusion that he might not share, which makes him pass the test. And it's not just crappy interviewing, it's potentially contaminating the entire investigation. So if this is really, and maybe it's not, but if this is how law enforcement ran the test, they not only compromised the results, they showed the subject, this guy, their entire hand, and possibly gave him a roadmap for denial. This is not how you run an interrogation, and it's sure as hell not how you run a polygraph. And right after he says, I was nervous, especially around the first question they asked, which was, did you kill Lily and Jack? We get that kind of behavioral spike. And first there's fidgeting, and it's not casual. It's like a pressure release valve. The system's dumping this tension out. And the second that this thing gets airtime, and I don't think it's recall. I think he's reliving this, and we see that stress. Then we see a tongue jut, and this is a classic rejection or regret cue here, and it lands after the quote, which matters. He's not rejecting the memory, he's reacting to his own words. And that's called post-statement leakage, and it's gold right here. It's perfect, textbook. And then the almost sort of lip licking that's going on. His body wants to self-soothe, but I think he cuts it off. I'm not sure. But there's definitely some internal conflict. But if you put all this together, this trio might look like some kind of confirmation of guilt. I don't think it is. But I do think it's a strong congruence cluster for some kind of internal conflict around the statement, that question that he got asked. That's all I got.
I was thinking about that too for the polygraph, but I'm thinking maybe what they did was, since he's thinking the way he is in an analytical fashion, when they ask questions, so where are you from? What's your name? You go through the basics you go through and you sort of talk to him for a little while. Then they may have messed up and said, all right, well, let's get started. They wouldn't say that, but maybe he got a feeling they got started when they asked that question.
Maybe. But if they still centered it around them being dead, idiots.
That's true.
Yeah. It's
Sorry.
a bad framing, which is why I wonder that, what seems to be his issue for me in not being able to want to frame it in that way, that he's rejecting that framing. My assumption was, because I got the same sense, it's like, why are they starting with that question?
Right.
My assumption is he doesn't remember that bit. He didn't even know that was part of it.
Exactly.
You know,
People that show
it's an
this,
assumption.
people that show this level of stress over an interview, remember, limbic thought is going to take over their thinking brain, and their ability to recall the actual details is going to be very difficult, because it was high duress that put that protein buildup in ops guy's mouth. It was not, casual, call you a name, poke you a little bit. It was really, really aggressive stuff.
What you guys think about this woman as a questioner?
Let's wait until the next video when we really see it.
I know, but I was going to find out now before that showed up, so everybody watching could get ready for it and not realize it.
So what do we think, Melissa? Thoughts on, because I don't know, I don't remember every single person, but I remember thinking when Daniel said those were the questions he was asked, I was like, that's bizarre. That's bizarre. It was almost like they were trying to ask him questions that there was no way he could not pass. Or you know what I mean? Like, it was just bizarre. And when I watched it back, I don't know why. I mean, I might have been, like, back then, I might have been so disappointed that I might have tuned it out back then. But hearing this again yesterday, I was just like, yeah, Chase, right? Like, I thought so too. Like, it was just bizarre. What do you think, Melissa?
I think a lot of his interviews are bizarre personally. I don't think that Daniel's words match his body language, in my opinion. I think he enjoys the attention, and I think that he focuses on how people view him versus like the truth, I guess, because in my opinion, he does have duper's delight. He's like, haha, they're believing me. I'm getting away with this. And I noticed in the last interview, he sat forward more, whereas most interviews, he's got his arms crossed. He sits further back in the chair. I disagree. I think his legs being crossed is his way of kind of distancing himself, distancing the interviewer. But when it comes to the polygraph questions, I don't think the actual first question was, did you kill Lily and Jack, or did you have something to do with the death of Lily and Jack? because in all polygraphs, unless you're an idiot polygrapher, you start off with simple questions. Is your name Daniel Martell? Do you live at 204 West
And that's
Lansdowne
what
Road?
that's exactly what Chase is saying. Like, this is like, if this is true, what Daniel is saying about the polygraph test, it's basically irresponsible and not how polygraph tests are normally administered. That's exactly what they're saying.
And I agree with them, because that's not how you do it. My ex-husband had to go have a polygraph, and it was, they ask you normal questions they want you to answer honestly about your name or address, or where you went to school or whatever, something like that. And then they ask you a series of questions, and they tell you, okay, now I want you to lie intentionally, because that calibrates the machine to your body's response to a lie. So when they would ask, well, is your name Daniel Martell, he would say no, and that would show that he's lying. That's how they get the base. But when it came to the actual questions past that, I do believe that the first question probably was, did you, or somewhere along the lines of, did you have anything to do with the disappearance of the Lily and Jack? Did you kill Lily and Jack? Things like that he's saying. But
But
to
that's not what
me,
he's
it's not
saying.
the actual first question.
That's not what that's exactly the opposite of what he said. He said the very first question was, did you kill Lily and Jack? So
Yeah.
that's where Chase is getting his information from, because Daniel said, especially when that's the very first question they ask you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, that wouldn't be a responsible first question. But to play devil's advocate here, I don't think Daniel Martell took the initial questions of, his name and having him lie. I don't think he took those as true questions. You know what I mean? Like, I think he thinks that the questions that were asked were the ones like, did you kill Lily and Jack? And to him, in his mind, in my opinion, that's what he thinks was the first question, when in all reality, I doubt that truly was the first question.
Right, but we have also seen in the documents, and now in Haley's interview the other day, whenever it was done, I don't know when it was recorded, but she was questioned on the blanket in her polygraph test, and it was 4 questions directly about that blanket. So I don't know. I think it's possible. I don't know the motive, but I'd like to think that there was a point and purpose behind those specific questions. But for Daniel to come out and say that was the very first question they asked him, the interviewer, to basically verify that that's what he meant and that's what he said, and then for, like I said, Chase to pick up on that and say, this is just idiotic.
Yeah. And it would
There
be.
could have been a motive behind why they asked that particular question first, and why their line of questioning in that polygraph was directly related to the death of Jack and Lily and nothing else. Whereas, I don't know if we've heard it or not from anybody, but I have heard that Malaya's was more towards, did you have anything to do with the disappearance? Do you know where the kids are? Those were her 4 questions, kind of. And then Daniel's, I don't know about his new one, but this one obviously was about the kids passing. Haley's was strictly about the blanket. So maybe there's a method to the madness, but
I think
it
so.
did strike me as odd back then. And you know what? Validating to have Chase Hughes bring it up, no matter what you think of him. I was like, I knew it. I knew that wasn't right. I knew it wasn't. There was something weird about that.
And I
So let's
agree
hit
that
chat
that
for a
would
little
be an
bit.
idiotic first question. And if you look at it, they're asking Haley about the blanket. They're asking Malaya about the disappearance. They're asking Daniel about the death. Most likely, and in my opinion, Cindy and Wade's questions would have been about abuse. So they're trying to rule out or rule in my opinion, only here, what they think in their mind, right, is the scenario of what happened. So if they think Daniel planted the blanket, but Daniel's blaming Haley, so they're going to ask Haley, did you plant the blanket? Was the blanket here? Things of that nature, to kind of narrow down, I guess, their scenario that they have in their head that happened.
I think I know where you were going with that. Hopefully hopefully you're good. Um, but yeah, no, you have to think that there's more to it, but maybe there wasn't. I don't know. It's strange. What do you think? Should we do the next one just for kicks, see what they have to say? I do think that they talk more about his actual body language in the next one. And then I was also wondering if back, like we're talking 8 months ago, this was done, and then the polygraph test was done even longer ago, like 6 weeks in or something like that, or what was it, 4 weeks in, something like that. Long time ago, long time ago. But at that time, there was still a lot of online speculation. So is it possible that those polygraph tests at the very beginning were geared towards some of the online speculations, just to use as a tool for law enforcement to say, Okay, we're not going to spend a lot of time down this. I don't know, because it is an investigative tool, right? It's not evidence. These results are not evidence. And could be the same thing with the blanket, right? Maybe they found forensic evidence on the blanket, which we know it was sent in, and we know we haven't heard about the results. I have heard rumors about the results, but based on some of the online speculations and some of the accusations, now all of a sudden they pull Haley in and start asking Haley these pointed questions about that blanket. It's possible to me. It would blow my mind if this is a fact, but in my mind, I'm thinking it could be to rule out some of the more, I guess, the ongoing online speculations, the stuff that hasn't led up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hope you know what I mean. But well,
Yeah, I think I
you're
know what you mean. And,
okay.
maybe it is to rule out online speculation, but I think also it's to kind of narrow down, because you've got Daniel Martell saying, well, Haley must have planted the blanket. And you've got other people saying Haley planted this blanket. So for them to go in and ask that question, I think is either A, to dismiss that Haley planted the blanket, or possibly because something came back on the blanket and they need to narrow down where it came from, who's seen it, and so forth. So if they can narrow out that Haley planted it, then whatever is on the blanket leads to somebody else. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and before we continue on with this, I noticed Michelle James said that Daniel has been diagnosed with ADHD, and I mean, I can't confirm that to be a fact because I'm not there. I don't know Daniel personally, but I do know that he told me that he was ADHD. And then after that, after Daniel stopped talking, somebody who is extremely close with Daniel also verified that he was um, more recently diagnosed, which I don't think any of us can really dispute. Number one, because we don't know him, but number two, because of his behavior, the plain and simple. So if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and play the next portion, ADHD or meth. I mean, both can be true. Both can be true. And usually one feeds into the other to create um, maybe some of the bizarre behavior, right?
So one of the
Never knew.
medications they use for ADHD is Adderall. And so a lot of people who don't have insurance or anything like that, and I know a couple, they self-medicate with another not medicine, another, they self-medicate with math because it's the same kind of reaction that you get from the Adderall. But I want to know what they think of his last interview, because like I said, in the last interview, he's more leaned in. He's not sitting back. I don't know. I know a lot of people self-medicate with it.
I know, like I pointed out, and I'm not a behavior uh, body language specialist or anything like that, but just all the things that I've read and heard and learned over the years, I felt like his most recent and probably last interview we'll see of him in the public, I felt like he was much more aware of and in control of his body language, which again, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, who can blame him when every move, every syllable you make is analyzed and some of it twisted? And do you know what I mean? Like, I would be extraordinarily self-aware of every move I made, and I would want to be more controlled just to try to, you know, stop people from being able to analyze what I'm doing. That's
And he
that.
has said he's very aware of what the
Yeah, he
public.
said it, but no,
So I
yeah, no,
agree
he
with
is
you. He's probably
absolutely.
more focused on like trying to control, because he's so aware of the public reading into every move he makes.
Yeah, and like he's got this idea, like early on he had this idea, he was just out here talking, and I think that he really underestimated how deep people are going to go into his behavior and his movements and the words that he was using. And I think that, you know, after when he started to realize, that's when he started to really try to control how and what he was saying and how he was behaving, and it came off like he was being deceptive maybe and trying to control these things because it was not natural for him. That's my own opinion on it. But then by the time we see him in that last interview right before he was charged, I feel like he was so careful and so controlled. He did not want to move from that one body position. That's just my that's
I
just
agree.
my thoughts on it. Just because he was out there, he was talking, he was saying what he was saying, and then when he realized how deeply people were digging in, he was like, "Okay, well, I can control this. I can control this." And then he would try, and it would just be, it didn't come off as genuine because it wasn't genuine. So this last time, I think he was just like basically glued to his chair, not gonna move too terribly much. Do you know what I mean? That's just
I
my
agree
take
with
on
you
it.
on that.
Yeah. So he's pro at everything in his opinion. I don't disagree with you. Tries too hard. Hey, Mary. Hey, everybody that's come in since our last hello session. Not going to do that right now, but I am going to continue with the video because I think it's fascinating to look back 8 months ago and to wonder what they would think now. Right? So let's go.
Thanks for my setup, Chase. I forgot we weren't friends.
She's showing genuine interest in here.
I think
She
so too.
appears to be interested, which is a good sign so far.
I think a whole lot of people want to know what happened in this case. I mean, this is a big deal in Nova Scotia for sure.
One thing I thought was great about her, though, is once she asks a question, she zips it, doesn't say anything, lets him keep talking. That's so rare, especially if you're doing a TV interview, because they want to be out, they want to be asking questions that'd be fun. And it's not all camera on her the whole time. It's mostly him or both of them.
The camera's great. I love the camera.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's set up great.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, it did.
And there were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere? When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job. You passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
No, that was really when I seen the turning point for it's starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malehya has taken one?
I don't know if I can say it, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No, RCMP wouldn't let tell me I asked.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lily and Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know that you can share that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before this appearance in the afternoon.
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malehya, and Meadow, and Lily and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do. I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before this appearance.
So
All right,
just
Chase,
real
what do you
quick,
got?
that was it said replay on it, but that wasn't the replay. That was just a mistake. But anyway, let's get to their analysis. Interesting. Interesting. Put your analysis in the chat if you want to. If you want to. We'll hit it after.
So you've heard me say it 5 bazillion times since our second video on the behavior panel. Let's look for what's missing first. And here's why. If you look at this clip again, all of the discussion has been self-centered. He discusses all the details of the case to clarify, not to seek return of the kids. He talks about people wanting to know what happened instead of getting them home. He makes no plea for their return, and no desire is visible on my end for people to help find them. There's no urgency other than his discussion about his own emotions during the polygraph exam. This could be a bunch of hallmarks of having accepted the fact that they might be deceased, but I'm not totally convinced. But I will say there's enough time to go through that grief process, the denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. This is called the Kubler-Ross grief cycle, but there was enough time there. There are a few stress indicators here, and they're here in this clip, but they're not any around guilt questions and responses. And in the ones that are present here, they don't occur in clusters. And not every human's going to spill out behavior that screams the truth. The questions are in the setting are critically important. And so far, there's no direct line of questioning to get involvement of guilt involved. There is a strong tongue jet again when he says Lily and Jack. So it's the second time that we've seen a strong tongue jet in relation to the mention of these two children. And I'm wondering now if we're seeing a baseline stress response that we need to mentally catalog and keep an eye out for it. But this video, number 3, which is our third video, was my indicator we're probably dealing with somebody who is unique on the neurology spectrum here. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, really interesting. Okay, so still very low energy. Feet are still crossed, no change there. There's a great sense of resignation, I would say, in that energy. There's maybe some Nova Scotianness to it as well, but there's a great sense of resignation. Just as you say, Chase, that resignation could be past the whole grief cycle. And also that grief cycle doesn't necessarily show up in the order that it's often described in. You can jump from moments and you can jump back again, and you could even have anger with the kids. Of course, it makes no sense to us here because we're not going through the grief. But if you have been through that grief, you can often feel anger towards the victim of a grievous moment. So there's all kinds of things that can happen there that won't seem, from an outside viewer's point of view, you may not be able to work out why would somebody feel this at this moment. Also, Chase, for my money, in order to get round to going, hey, if you see the kids, here's what they look like, and he'd have to go against the line of questioning of this interviewer. And is he the kind of person that would take control of this interview? Like you and I, maybe all of us here, maybe we would, maybe he won't and he doesn't. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Chase, the biggest thing on my mind at the moment is you are wearing a watch that I've not seen you wear before. It's the Omega Swatch Mission to the Moon watch. It's a lovely watch.
How the shit did you know that?
Because I pick up on these things. And it's a lovely watch. And there are some people out, it's a beautiful watch. There are some people out there who think that Swatch made a bad move, a grievous move doing this. I'm one of the people who think it was a wonderful move that they made. It's a particularly nice watch. I wish I had one myself, but I would love the whole collection.
They've got all the planets, I think, but this was
They've
a
got all the
Father's Day
planets.
gift.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
very nice.
really?
Fine.
Well,
Very
that's
good
what I was going to say. How come I've not seen that before? What an absolutely wonderful Father's Day gift. I can't
Yeah.
think of a
Good
better
kids.
Father's Day gift. It's lovely. Lovely. Nice.
Thanks.
Kids, nice watch that you got, Dad. Nice watch. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on in this one. I agree with you. And to be able to, even if it's not about the grief cycle, to be able to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, the kids, a certain amount of social awareness. I don't think this guy has it. I don't think he's got the to your point, he's not the person that interjects and say, wait a minute, hold on, back off. It's interesting to watch him that one of the things we know is when a person gets to that point, they got protein in the sides of their mouth, licking their lips is not really a big deal because you constantly want that out of your mouth. It's a weird feeling. If you had gone through it, you'd feel all that stuff building up. It kind of makes you crazy. But the tongue jut is still there. And the tongue jut, when he talks about the children, surely looks like some kind of disapproval or something going like that. When he says they told him you did a good job and you passed, the first time we see real pleasure, he looks pleased with himself, except for he smiles big. And there's that one little quick up in the left side of his face that makes me think there's some contempt. So if this questioner were a little bit more adept, she could have asked a more complex question and gotten a different answer. Like, did you feel like they were thorough enough? Would you want them to go harder on someone else other than the parents? And you'd get a different answer because he's very literal to this point. There's good eye accessing a couple of times in this, but a really good one when he's asked about Malehya and whether she's taken a lie detector or not. We watch his eyes go up to his right and see a little stress and then come back. There's no deception. He comes back and he tells them, yeah, and his whole body is nodding. Well, by the way, when he's pleased about this thing, his whole body is nodding. And then when he's talking about her and when she took the lie detector, it's the same thing. His whole body is nodding. It's really interesting because it's almost childlike in its exuberance of doing well on the poly. Now, whether they told him that or not, maybe he's just a good bullshitter and he got past me and I don't see it. But I don't think so. I think that there's more to this case. When he says that there's more to this case than meets the eye, he also does that same nodding, which makes me think he knows something he's not telling us. He can't tell us. Then she asks about something you can share. He goes right back to that same eye accessing point. The same thing he did with Malehya. and he looks stressed and he comes back down and he doesn't answer. Then he goes into, this is still a missing person case. It hasn't pivoted. That's interesting language. That means he knows that something's bigger than we know. And there's an opportunity to tear that little piece, that little statement to pieces using good questions, slice it and feed it back to him. Why does that matter that it's not still being treated that way? What do you mean by still? 2 kids are missing. What more could there be? Those are 3 questions I would have followed up and would have gotten very literal with him, because we know he answers literal questions really, really well. But then when he's asked where the kids were, he's back that same I-S&Q. He goes for the 3rd time. And associated with the facts, he shouldn't say something, he does say it 2 of them. So he doesn't tell us something. He tells us about Malehya. He tells us about the fact that the kids were at the location with him, and he goes to the same accessing place. And when they're asking him that 3rd time and he doesn't give us information, it means he's holding something back that he considers valuable. And then we watch him doing the double shoulder shrugs when he's doing the coworker validated kids with him. I think what we're seeing here is he's telling us everything he knows, and he's holding back the one thing that is important that he's been told he can't. This makes me believe him even more, even though I do believe he is, you put it pretty well there, Chase, he's pretty unique neurologically. I think he's not like me neurologically. So asking questions the way that he understands the questions is a powerful tool. And I don't think we see that in this questionnaire. Scott, what do you got?
Okay, you guys have covered most everything, but I'll go over lightly some of the same things, but my take on them. Like when we're talking about when he answers that question, you did good, you passed. When he said that, I think that emotion is he's proud. It's almost like he's accomplished something. If you're good at sports and didn't know it, like you made a touchdown or a goal or whatever, I think that's what that looks like. Like he's proud of having done that. So that lets me know he wasn't worried about that in the sense that we would be worried about it. You know, I don't think he was worried about it from being thought of as guilty, just that he was going to do well on that test. So that sort of leans toward the neurodivergent situation we've been talking about as well. And after he says the police were aware, when he's talking about the children being seen near the mall, he does this hard lip grip after that. And I think that's him hoping that he didn't say too much, because I agree with you, Greg. He's hiding or he's holding something in. Don't know if he's hiding it, but they've said, don't say anything about this, don't say anything about that, don't say anything about this, for whatever reason. You know, they may not want. There are situations where you don't want to give out information like that, so somebody can make their plan that if they've done something to the kids and they've got, well, here's what I did that day, they won't add. So we went by the mall as well and saw so and so and so and so. Then we went back on this path they were down. Tons of reasons why you wouldn't want to let that information out. So I think he's got some important information, and I think he's holding back. And so that's where I'll leave it there. What are you going to say, Chase? You were going to say something.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
All good.
So,
You passed.
When did you?
So, what do you think? What do you think, you guys? Not a whole lot of feedback about this. You guys are actually having a conversation about, I think, Chicken Whisperer's channel, which is fine. Which is fine. What is a load or a crock of shit? What's a load? What's a load? And hey, look, you guys, like I said, I didn't go looking for this. It just happened to come up on my Play Next. So I watched it yesterday, and I found it fascinating knowing what we know now and looking back, and made me wonder about if at this time, I remember thinking, man, if they only knew this and they only knew that, they would think differently. But would they though? Because they're literally just analyzing his words and his body language. So maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. And if they did have the information we did, would they be biased? You know what I mean? The documents clearly state there was 4 questions asked. I do believe they are not experienced polygraphs for them to not ask basic questions first, then go into other questions later. And I know that, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I do remember Belinda explaining Cody's polygraph in that they did ask him some baseline questions, but 4 main questions. So both can be true, but even then, for that to have been the entire line of questioning for Daniel, I've always thought that that was a little bit strange, possibly irresponsible, just because of them saying that they haven't been able to rule anything out. So why are we focusing on that with Daniel? It just struck me as odd. But anyways, these guys do have Daniel down. They know he's not telling the full truth. Does anyone think it's a coincidence that both Daniel and Malehya left the dollar store and Lawton Stop out of their first statement, but remembered in the second? Depends on the dates of those two interviews, how far apart they are. And like I said, I don't know how I would be able to recall all the details if I'm in a panic state, which we never really saw a panic state, but we weren't there. So like I can't say for sure. They're not gonna put inexperienced people on a high profile case. Well, if you believe Daniel, they had to actually fly in a polygrapher, which I don't know what to think of that. Yeah. Since his new charges, I don't really care to know what they think about his new charges, but I would like them to do another one on his last interview. I'm listening to everything. I'm like a sponge. I got it all. Good. I'm glad, because my moderators are my memory, my brain. I know the polygrapher professionally who polygraphed Daniel, and he is a very experienced polygrapher. I do think it shows why investigating is important rather than just relying on perceptions of behavior. Absolutely. Maybe get them to come do a live with you. I wish. I always say that, and then I never ask anybody. And then when I'm offered, I'm like, no, I don't really want to do that. But I mean, if they did, I would be like, sure, you can come on my little baby channel. I would just like to say, as an aside, I recently, and I'm not going to give any details, but I recently had a conversation with somebody in Major Crimes, and he actually thanked me for not being part of the problem online. So for anybody that thinks I'm adding to the circus, I got my validation. I'm not. So just say that. Anyway, what's on your mind, Melissa? Now, what's on your mind? You want to talk a little bit? Because I've been babbling.
I agreed with a lot of what they said. I think when he said that he passed the polygraph and all that, it did make him feel good, whether or not that was that he truly passed or that he thinks he's got them fooled. But one thing I noticed, and I've noticed it in several of his interviews, and I just don't know what to make of it, but he'll say all of the questions had to do with, or everything says something about the disappearance, but he leaves out the word the. He says disappearance, not the disappearance or before they went missing. He leaves out one word, and I don't know if that's just how he talks or what, but he never says the disappearance. He just says disappearance. And when they talked about, him shaking his head with like his whole body for certain questions, and he did, but when he was asked questions about the kids, you didn't see that. And what really irritates me with this interviewer, I don't know if I don't know her qualifications, but I agree with them. She didn't ask follow-up questions after letting him talk that I don't know that they would be important, but she really doesn't follow up. She just lets him talk, whether she thinks he's going to leak something or not. There were questions. Okay, you passed. How? I feel like there should have been, I agreed with him. There should have been more follow up with the questions. I don't know what to make of Daniel. I still think he's lying whether that's lying by omission and leaving things out. I still think he knows more than he's saying. And they kind of said the same. So I have to agree with a majority of what they said.
I mean, Daniel has told me many times that there's a lot that he can't say or share. And and me included, that just raises suspicion, and that, like, I bet there is that he knows more. Do you know what I mean? But like, I'm to a place now where I'm like, there's just so much information, like Lynn was saying, you can't you can't possibly sift through anything anymore to find the truth. All we can do is try to just talk about the things that we know are factual, and try our best to disregard the things that we know aren't factual. And that's super hard to do too, because you don't want to forget anything, because it matters. But at the same time, where do you decide to put your focus? And I just, like I said, this was interesting to me, so I wanted to play it. Now I'm behind in chat again.
But it's hard to figure out what's factual when he's lied so many times, right? So, yes, people are talking, but where do we draw the line of what we believe and what we don't believe, what we think he's lying about, what he's not lying about? And I think his body language gives him away every time. Like when he was on DT, he would say something and then he'd be like, right? And he'd wait for that validation. It's like that was his way of discerning whether or not this person believes him, whether or not what he's saying is actually normal. Like when he was talking about the kids missing school. Well, a lot of kids miss school, right? Like that's normal, right? That's his way of getting validation, and he does it a lot.
Is that way? I mean, it could be, but I also do stuff like that. I don't know if I say right all the time. Maybe I do. I could, but I know I say, do you know what I mean? I'm not looking for validation on my point. I'm just wanting to make sure that you understood what I just said. Like, because sometimes we all know Charmaine rambles sometimes, and sometimes I don't even, you forget the point of what you're saying in the middle of what you're saying it. So I'll say stuff like that, just kind of my own, I guess, vernacular. Like, I don't know, like sometimes it's just the way we talk. Or back in the 80s, and there are a lot of people that still do it now, they add in like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Or it's just maybe, and I do know from having conversations with Daniel, he does say, right? Like, that, right? And I do know many other people that do say right when they're done talking. I don't know. It's super hard. It's super hard.
And I do that too.
Yeah,
I'll be like, you know
so
what I mean?
yeah.
And that's what I can't discern, whether or not he's looking for validation or if that's just how he talks.
Jam, we were explaining yesterday our live stream. Melissa had gone through and edited a lot of the personal information, and neither one of us realized that there was a phone number in, like, later on in the recording. We didn't catch it until it was being played live, so we ended the live stream fairly quickly, and we tried to go back and edit it out, but we weren't able to re-upload it as the live stream. So Melissa was able to get it edited, and we both uploaded it on our channels as a standalone video with the same thumbnail, but you're not going to find it in the live streams. You're going to find it in the video section of both of our channels, and it's strictly the audio. There's no commentary, but that's what happened. We didn't feel right about having the live up there, so I immediately put it to private, hoping that I'd be able to override that with the edited version, but it doesn't let you do that. So went to the video only section, and now because I've done that, I'm super behind in chat. I hope I'm not missing anything super important. I don't think any of us will really figure it all out with him, because I think ingrained familial culture of possible deception, secrecy runs deep enough that it's hard. I just hope for justice. Me too. I draw my impressions from what looked like fake crying, and his behavior being so off and over the top struck me as performative from the get-go. hmm Unfortunately, I missed what you said, so I can't say I do. But probably. Yeah, but that's just the audio, not the live stream, right, guys? What did I miss, Atlanta? Yeah, but we couldn't edit it out and re-upload it as a live stream. I hope that makes sense. Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you feel me? Yeah.
Well, neither of us felt comfortable because we felt like we had doxed this person.
And never our intention on this channel, never. And yeah,
No.
I care more about that than I do about views. So the video went immediately private, immediately. And it stayed private until we realized that we couldn't upload an edited version as the live stream. So there is no live stream from yesterday. So there was something else that I just saw. You need to understand also Malehya changed her story 3 times. So is Daniel lying and Malehya isn't? No, not at all. I don't know if there's anybody in here that doesn't think that Malehya has changed her story, but we also have a serious problem in this channel with mother of Jack and Lily not using her voice to look for her kids. This is not one side or the other here. We're looking at all. We're looking at all. And just as, I think just as pissed off at one side as we are at the other, you know?
For me, I can't believe either one of them right now, as the fact of everything they say is, what they're saying is truthful, because both of them have showed, in my opinion, not to be telling the truth. So it's hard for me personally to discern which part of what Daniel is saying is true, which part of what Malehya is saying is true. It's just really hard when you lie for that to be given again. So, and I take everything both of them say with a grain of salt unless I can confirm it through a third party or another way. If I can't confirm it, then I don't necessarily put a lot of faith in it for either side.
And so hard to confirm it. How do we confirm it? Because the third party is biased. So I have a hard time with all of that. All of it. I would love to be a fly on the wall in the investigator's office. Just to know a little bit of what they know would make all the difference. And again, some of the more harmful speculation and accusations that are out there when we really don't know anything, but just based on the stuff that we've heard and our own perception of the inconsistencies and the stories that have come out, who wouldn't think these people are nuts? But if the RCMP would just come out and set a few things straight, I think that the circus would pack up its tent somewhat. At least the clown car would drive away a little bit with some of the clowns in it. I think. Just my thoughts. Do you want to continue on with this, or should I switch over to Darius, or where are we at here? We don't have a whole lot more to go. We don't have to watch the replay, but quite interesting in my humble opinion. I
So
quite enjoy this. Go ahead.
I enjoy watching the behavior panel, and I'm not opposed to continuing with it. What I wanted to respond to real quick and ask a question about, I missed Trail Hiker. I'm not sure what you're agreeing with me on. And yes, I have had to deal with a missing child. So, and I've talked to Charmaine and some other people, and I think what I'm going to do is a pre-recorded video, I think is what we decided on would be the best way to do it. And I'm going to go over basically my history and why I view cases the way I do, and kind of go over the fact that my son was missing and is now gone. So look out for that. But I don't care to continue on with this, but I do need to step away for just a moment.
Did you say, well, I'll just continue on while you step away. And just really quickly, Seaweed, the people themselves could clear up a lot. Would you believe them though? That's the point where we're at, and that's why I don't blame any of them for not talking. But here's the thing, it depends on who they're talking to and how the information comes out, whether it's going to be taken as credible or even something to consider, or if we're just going to continue laughing at them and ridiculing them. You know, need to make, and this is my message to the people who are still talking, make better choices of who you decide to talk to. Because once they turn on you, that's the end of it, really. Um, Daniel must be pee off now. Why not now speak up if he was the person who just hid the kids, vice versa for Malaya? Kind of goes to my point that we're like 11 months in. If the kids were hidden, why are they still hidden? There's no reason for it. I think we can all guess at why Daniel is not speaking up anymore. I was told a couple of weeks ago by somebody who does talk to Daniel that he is more open to talking to independent media. And the reason for that was because um, all of the little interviews that he does and they edit them and stuff, they always seem to leave out the parts where he's asking the public for information about Jack and Lily. And, you know, true, I don't know. It's edited. We don't see it. But according to this person who has contact with Daniel, that's the reason. And he's more open to um whatever I said, the media, the not the mainstream media, but somebody that'll put his story out completely that's not on YouTube, not just on YouTube, an independent media source, which I have no idea who that would even be. So, um, yeah. So let's continue on for a little while. Yeah. Uh, yeah, there's another one who has contact with Daniel. Um, yeah, that's the reason. And you know, like I said, these people who have that contact with Daniel and have those conversations with Daniel, I know that most of us are biased because we believe Daniel has been inconsistent. So I trust that these people who contact Daniel or who Daniel talks to, I trust that they're getting the information from Daniel. Does that make the information true? Not necessarily. We have no idea. But I know that they are getting the information from him. Do you know what I'm saying? So, that's not saying one way or the other that I believe it or I don't believe it, but I do know that they do get the information directly from Daniel. That's all I'm saying. Who's more independent than YouTubers, but at the same time, and I don't really want to go further into it because you're making me defend these people, which I don't want to defend anybody. I really don't. I'm not one-sided or the other. But would you, after 95% of the channels have been attacking you for 11 months for, some of it good reason, some of it not, but would you want to talk to a YouTuber? Even to the point where, and like I said, I don't want to defend, but you go and you almost befriend a YouTuber and you're on his channel and you're talking, you're giving information, but even then that YouTuber turns on you, right or wrong, that would be the end of it. You would want to go and find yourself an independent media source and talk to them, which again, at this point in time, I don't see the benefit of Daniel talking to anybody until the criminal case has run its course. And then, we might not hear from him. So,
I
you know what
have
I'm
to
saying?
agree.
Yeah, like, I mean, I wouldn't. And same with Janie. Would I have reached out to Mike Damon or Demand? Probably not. I just me, but I would be gun shy. I would be humiliated. And I mean, honestly, kudos for them for wanting to stand up for themselves, but there's only so much you can do. Damage is done. Um,
For me, it's not so much that they don't go to YouTubers, but whether or not they decide to go to YouTube or a mainstream media, the fact is, what more do they have to say? If they haven't said it by now, what more can they add? And Charmaine is, very fair on both sides. I'm a little more biased as I think they're lying. But the fact is, why do they need to come on and say anything? What more? And I hate to do this, but to quote Janie here in her own words, they can't give us any more information. They've already said everything they can say. They've already given out everything they know, according to them. Take that with a grain of salt, because I still personally think both sides are hiding for some reason. But I mean, what are they're going to come on and say the exact same thing. I mean, we're almost 11 months in at this point.
some of some of the follow-up questions, though, for some of the information, I think would do. I don't know if it's good enough now to do damage control, but there would be a benefit to it, and I've got a list of them. I really do. I've got a list of them. Not pointing out inconsistencies or anything like that, but the stories that have come out that have changed, that have evolved, but now are kind of the same. They're static now. We've got our story down, whatever. Just questions for collateral information to get more clarifying information that wouldn't harm the investigation. I think, in my opinion, would do a world of good. Would it change everybody's opinion? No, but it would add clarity to some of the mud that we all have. And I understand if that's like a no-go, but there would be a benefit. I don't want to rehash anything new, but I want to take what we've heard and what we've been told. And I have some questions. I've always had questions, and I've said for months, I have questions. I have questions.
I think we all have
Yeah,
questions at this point.
exactly. So many stupid misunderstandings. Yeah. Saying he's putting up allegedly a toolbox that harmed the kids for money, so he's disgusting. And I don't disagree with you. Using it as a game, knowing that YouTubers are just out there looking for information to talk about and kind of manipulating them in that way. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, there's still 2 missing kids, and if you're not going to put out credible, factual information, why are you trying to play with people? Like, they're that's all I really want to say about that. We need more backstory. We need collateral information. Why is Daleen getting involved with Jordan? How so? Are we believing what we hear? Or do you know that for a fact? Just wondering. Didn't Durwood get the toolbox from Marketplace? No, Daniel did. Can't be laughing at the fact anything related to 2 missing kids. Having a little bit of levity here and there's nothing wrong with that. You have to. But to actually manufacture information to throw at YouTubers as a joke, I think is a little bit poor quality. But it doesn't surprise me. Whatever. It's fine. It should be. Can we make a list for them to answer. I have, and I have submitted it. But I mean, all questions are welcome. I mean, if you word them nicely, I don't mind trying to get them through to the sources. Do you know what I mean? Not at all. And then not about the same shit. I don't want to hear the same shit we've already heard. I just have questions about the shit. That's all. That's all. Anyways, you guys, let's Contrary Mary, love your name. Good to see you. Who are you? Tara? Sometimes oversharers find safe places, kind hearts, empathetic ears. Sometimes. Sometimes. Anastasia, good to see you. Daniel kept the drill and gave the toolbox to Jordan. Jordan took what he wanted out of the toolbox and gave the remainder to Durwood. Thank you, Gren. Somebody was listening. Gren takes really great notes, and I said that the other day. But anyways, let's continue before we run out of time. We'll do one more, and then we're just going to talk. I'm going to show really quickly just about Darius, no real updates, and then we'll probably end up ending it unless you have more about Jack and Lee. But I'm gonna play this for a bit. This next one more session.
Say maybe once every 5 days. And usually I'm the one who calls or messages them.
And how's that changed over the course of the 6 weeks?
Well, from the beginning, it was almost daily, tapering off to where it's only like once every 5 days now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good and bad. I mean, I like to talk to them in person about any little small details I come up with or anything I can try to bring to their attention, which may help the investigation. So I don't get to see them often, so it's always over phone or messaging, and it's hard to really convey what you want to say when you're not in person. But then I also know the eye's not on me. The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my GPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up right
Yeah,
from the
I
beginning.
offered everything.
And why were you doing that?
Show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. A lot of speculation is you killed the kids. Was come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama. That's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lily and Jack. And that's been really tough going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, your family's ripped apart and you're left alone.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
So there's one thing here, and I'll just do this one thing. His willingness to hand over his phone early in the case and framing it verbally as helping the investigation. That's a strong behavioral indicator of cooperation. And on the surface, that's very good. But I just want you to watch what happens next. He denies killing the children flat out. But the thing here is, no one asked him if he did. And this is where you need to pause and listen with some precision here. The interview and the overall investigation at this stage centers around this disappearance, not confirmed harm, not murder. And he may be borrowing from a suggestion from the polygraph examiner. So when in other cases, and maybe in this case, when somebody jumps to a murder denial unprompted, it can mean one of 2 things. Number one, they've already reframed the event in their mind, consciously or unconsciously, around death. Or two, they're answering a question that nobody asked. And that should always, always raise an eyebrow. So now, what didn't he say? What's missing? He didn't follow up with, and I had nothing to do with them disappearing. He didn't touch the core accusation, and that's called strategic denial in most books. When you're looking through this, it's denying something that's technically true and skipping the thing that's damning. And I've got a cold, if you're wondering why my voice sounds weird right now. But again, this whole interview drifts. The questions are soft. The emotional tone stays calm. And I think somehow in a sit down about two missing children, no one asks anything that would make a guilty person sweat. Nobody. And that's the real issue to me here. And truth tellers usually say stuff like, you can ask anyone, or I want to prove I didn't do this. Guilty people usually speak in isolation. I didn't do it. Full stop. And this is called excluding a social frame. Like, go ask Tommy, he was with me, or whatever. But I find it bizarre that this is an interview with a person about missing children, and no one is asking about missing children. It's ridiculous.
Can we please get a hell yeah for Chase Hughes? Honestly, he just said it. Do I need to rewind it just a little tiny bit? You guys are probably going to get pissed off because I'm doing it. I don't care, because he said it and he meant it. Let's say it again.
And this is called excluding a social frame. Like, go ask Tommy, he was with me, or whatever. But I find it bizarre that this is an interview with a person about missing children, and no one is asking about missing children. It's ridiculous to me. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, a couple of really good points for him in here too, though. Let me walk through a couple of those. He starts off, he's loosened up. If you notice, he's punctuating his brain's thoughts with his head, or illustrating with his head specific words and phrases, as Scott would say. His eyes are accessing to his right, but to a different area than they were before. So earlier it was all visual stuff, and now it's more auditory. As he's answering the questions about, it was once in 5 days. Now, the other piece is, as you pay attention to him, he's got a brow rise, which he doesn't have many, as he says, I'm usually the one that calls them, with the same really quick head nod. Yeah, look, I'm usually one that calls them. The interesting piece is handing over your phone. I always love the fact people think they hand over their phone, then it's over. No, once you sign that document that says you're giving them access to your phone, that doesn't mean it's over. That means they're going to get what they get and keep checking. So it's interesting that people sometimes will think they've bypassed and then go put more information. There's fear in his face, really good fear. His eyes come back. He says in the beginning it was almost daily. I think he's almost childlike in the way he approaches some of his nonverbal communication. Then he becomes more communicative. His head starts moving around a lot more. And then here's the best thing that happens for him in the entire video series we've seen to now. When he says it was good and bad because I was not being bugged anymore, but they were not getting information, he shows grief in his brow. It's mild, but there's a little horseshoe, a little start of a curve, not as pronounced as mine is, but I'm not sure he can do that. That's a great, great, great indicator, because it says he cares that they are getting information from him about these children that could change things, which for me is a good, good indicator. Now, up to now, I've said, I think he's neurodivergent some way. I still think that. He does a stress throat clear as she asks, what do you think? And that's another good one, because he should, maybe this is all building up. Then eye accessing, as he says, the eye is not on me. He drops down to his right and down to his left. What that means is he's having some emotional feelings and some internal voice for what it means, back and forth and back and forth. You might call that looking for change in the floor, the same move. That it is very powerful. And then we see the first real emotion we see in the entire video. To your point, Chase, we don't see a lot of the emotion or discussion of people and children. But when he starts to talk about all these children, all 7 members of the family, we do see emotion. That's a good sign. It means
Yeah.
He realizes that something is fundamentally changed. Scott, what do you got?
All right. At first, when he says he's talking to the police a lot, like once a week or yeah, once every 5 days or something at this point. But I think he says he was talking to him almost every day.
Yep.
I think maybe he was bugging the shit out of him. And they said, look, man, let's just do this once a week. Because maybe he was calling for 5. What about this? You know how it is when there's something like that and somebody's concerned and they get up in their head and think, well, this could happen. And they'll say, well, this could happen. And you get this barrage of what could have happened during all that. I think maybe that's what happened. They tried to cool him out by being nice to him at the same time, because I think the minutia of that probably got old to him, wasting their time, which would make me think they might have knocked him out of the running already. So it could be wrong, but that's what I thought. Maybe they're not. Maybe they aren't looking at this guy anymore. So then when she says, "What do you think about that when you read that?" And about the people saying he did that. We hear him do this little thing with his voice, not a growl, not a clear. It's just this like that. I think that really bothered him. I think the whole idea of that bothers him. I think he's over it. He's just done it so many times, and he wants to say, I hate this and all that, but he's staying calm about it all. Then he eye blocks when he says, I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And this can be two things. It can be one of those things where a lot of people are going to say, well, he closed it. That's eye blocking. So he's lying when he's saying that. Well, you eye block when you're saying something or hearing something that you don't want to hear, or something you don't say, or something that bothers you, or something you really don't agree with. Like some kind of a joke you're hearing at work, people block their eyes. If it's a dirty joke and there's people around, you wouldn't want to hear that. So I think this really bothers him. I don't think it's because he's being deceptive. I think it bothers him saying that. It bothers him hearing those things. But at the same time, he's reeling it in and being calm about it and not getting angry. That's what it looks like to me. So instead,
Sorry. I just wanted to interject here because I saw some comments about the grief. Is it the attention loss or is it for the kids? But what kids? And I can tell you that during my conversations with Daniel, there was a point in time where he got genuinely emotional discussing his biological children with me. Just not a fun fact, but just I believe he has, I believe he loves his biological children. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if that's the point where they saw the grief, that's exactly what it's about because I heard the grief. So I lost my son in a car accident. I'm so sorry to hear that, Clara. Thank you for being here. He was my life, and I would fight for him, look for him, be absolutely hysterical. It's what I have been through, domestic violence and controlling men, and I would be in prison for murder. Same. You wouldn't not see me everywhere looking for my children. It's just true. What bothered me, everyone from both families didn't even cry when talking about the kids on camera. It's huge. Cool J, thanks for being here. These guys don't know enough about the case to be able to match their analysis to the facts. They're speaking in very general terms and speculating a lot. I thought so too, and then I grounded myself, and they are reading body language and how he is speaking. And if they had the information that we had at this point, they would be biased at this point. That's why I'm rewatching this because I felt like it was a different perspective when you think of it through that lens. Cool, Jay. And it's okay if you don't agree, but um, I think that it would be interesting to see what they thought of his last interview. But it would be almost impossible, I think, for them to get a clear read on him now, because they probably know a lot more. Greg did have collateral information before this, but the rest of them didn't. And I have a feeling they probably went in and looked a little bit at what was going on. just my opinion. Everybody that's coming in, thank you for being here. I'm gonna finish this out and then we'll hear from Melissa, and we're going to I guess I'd look a little bit at Darius just for a couple of minutes. Unfortunately, no real updates, but I'm curious to see if they had any searches, upcoming searches planned, but we're gonna look together. I haven't had time, but okay, let's watch.
It's being deceptive, I think it bothers him, and he's just not becoming angry about it or getting angry about it on the outside. Then he talks about people have their own opinion, and this is frustration that we see. And we see it all the time. This is with his legs, his arms, his little adapter there, and everything sort of moves at once when he talks about that. So, which is normal, because it's that little spike of, oh, that's uncomfortable for me. So, and then for some reason, he's been separated from the entire family. That part, again, kicks me back into something might be up here. So, unless you have a situation where, like you do in narcissism, where the narcissist knocks out all your friends and everybody else in the family against you, maybe it's that kind of thing. I'm not saying his wife's a narcissist, but maybe there's something going on with the wife where she wants to point at him if he didn't do it. If somebody did it, I'm not saying she did. I haven't seen her. I haven't seen videos on her. I don't know anything about her. But maybe that's a situation where the wife is knocking him out of those family situations to separate him and throw blame toward him. I don't know anything about any more than what we've seen in these videos. I'm just surmising something like that might be the reason. Because so far I'm not seeing a lot of deception on this guy at all. So I can't imagine why they do that. So we're sort of seeing the combination of behavior and body language of somebody who could be deceptive and somebody who could be innocent. It's almost riding the line there in a lot of ways, for me anyway, when I'm looking at it like that. All right, is that everybody?
No.
Yep.
Mark?
Oh,
Yeah. Look, here's the way I see it. I think he's in an interview here, which is all about and focused on him being innocent of murder. It's the way the questioning is going. And you're right, Chase, it should be an interview about two missing kids, but it isn't. It's everything's focused on, and he's complying with that. He's complying with the frame of this interview. I think you're right, Scott, that he actually gets quite irritated, frustrated, and angry around this idea of, what did you think when you read that you killed the kids? He's angry and he wants this to stop. And I think that's his pleasure in this being over now. From his point of view, it's over that he's in the frame for this, but the interviewer hasn't shifted the frame to, okay, so now we're over with that. Let's, what do you think? Where do you think they are? What do you think happened? The frame doesn't shift. Now, Greg, I mean, I've not watched the whole interview. Is it much longer than this? Or
No,
this
there's
is
only
pretty
one
much
other,
it?
only one other interchange I took out about video. That's about it.
Right, right. So in my view, it's not a great interview because it doesn't set him up in any way. It sets him up to try and argue that he has no guilt. Greg, well, you got a thought?
Yeah, I'll tell you that when I talked to Sadie, I watched a very short clip and we covered, and I said, look, I would go and check water because he used some really awkward word patterning, even for him. And I would say now, look, if this guy's willing to come on, I'd love to talk for us to talk to him if he come on, because he's showing a whole different vision than he had in that 1 minute little clip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it from my point of view, this still looks good. You're right. What would it look like if the questions were now more pointed towards, okay, so what's happened to them? I think he's frustrated at the whole frame of they've been murdered. I don't know whether he particularly accepts that as the full extent of the possibilities for them. I think it feels like he's gone through grief and has accepted he's unlikely to see them, but I'm not sure he's accepted that they're murdered at this point. Anyway, and that's just conjecture from the information that I see here. Anyway, fascinating.
That's a three-way tie. Well, I don't know, Chase. That landed in there at the end. I'll give you that. Nicely
Thank
done.
How often are they?
So yeah, they just watch the replay one more time and then they do their roundtable, which we listened to the roundtable yesterday, just kind of a, you know, like a prep for today's episode, for today's live stream. Somebody asked again about yesterday's live stream. There was some information in there that did not get redacted accidentally, so we marked the video private until we were able to edit it. It was edited. We weren't able to re-upload it as the live stream, so it's a standalone video. You can find it on my channel and also Melissa's. Everybody is on the same page. It would be fascinating, I think, to hear from them now on his more recent interview. Hopefully they do it. What are your thoughts, Melissa? Where's your mind today? Where's your mind now that we've listened to a little bit more?
So before I go into that, I wanted to respond to Drippy here. I think both. He's grieving the loss of his own children, right? Not being able to see them because his ex-wife has said, until this is over, basically, until we know what happened to Jack and Lily, I don't feel comfortable, with you having the kids. I'm not saying those were her exact words. So I think he's grieving both. He's grieving the loss of attention from the RCMP about, he's gone from daily contact to every 5 days, once in 5 days. He has to contact them. So I think both in this question. So there's a couple other ones I started, but I'll get to that in a second. So something I noticed, and I'm surprised that the behavior panel didn't point this out. When Daniel Martell, I thought he was going to point this out. I thought Chase was going to point it out. When he said, I did not kill Lily and Jack. We've talked about how he nods his head yes, right? In an affirmative matter. But when he said that, he shook his head no. And that bugs me. And that has bugged me since this interview come out. And I really thought Chase was going to point that out when he went into what he was saying about that. But I did agree with Chase about he wasn't asked that question. He independently put that in there because that's what he wants us to believe. But he doesn't say anything about, I didn't have anything to do with the disappearance, but yet he went straight to murder. And I agree, with Scott, he is kind of grieving that loss with calling the PD. He wants that. He wants it to seem like he's being very helpful. He wants to be seen as helpful because Daniel Martell, and in my opinion, Daniel Martell really worries about what the public thinks of him. And it's not what happened to the kids, it's how he's viewed, and that bugs me. But I agree, this was an interview about missing kids, and yet they didn't really focus on, well, where do you think the kids are? What do you think happened to the kids? Do you have anything to say if the kids could hear you? That is what I would expect, being that it's about 2 kids that have been missing almost 11 months. And they're not focusing on the fact that they're missing. They're focusing on, well, how'd your polygraph go? And well, how you talking with the PD, RCMP, instead of, where are the kids? What do you think happened? What do you think should happen to the person who has the kids or took the kids or hurt the kids? Things of that nature. I've yet to hear an interview where they go into that. But again, we've seen it with the recent interviews with, oh, dadgummit, what they're the 2 girls and Cindy and
Cheryl and Angeline.
Yeah. They're not begging. They're not begging for the return. They're not begging for the kids not to be harmed. They're not begging for information. And that bugs me. And maybe it bugs me because of my own personal experience in this, that nobody, and you and I have talked about it, nobody is showing emotion. Nobody is begging for the kids. Some of them aren't even willing to show their own faces to ask for their return. And the only person I've ever heard, honestly, ask for their return is Janie, that said, drop them off in the nighttime. There's no cameras. Drop them off. We'll come get them. Just at least Janie did that, but nobody else has. And that bugs me. So
I am not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Gryffindor. That's funny. I knew what you were saying. Yes, we see this. It's 8 months ago. Was this during the Taylor time? I don't know. Hickey, Bruce, either or. Whatever. Thank you, everybody, so much. You have very sweet things to say about me. I appreciate you. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Melissa.
So, Grindle, I'm not sure what you mean. You said Melissa see it. You maybe? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. There were,
Bruise. I think they were referring to the bruise on his neck.
it's probably a hickey.
Could be.
Just saying that. So there were 2 other comments I starred. I had to pop out for a few times, so probably missed what was said if she is still playing the rest of Wade's audio today. So that audio, like Charmaine said, we had some issues last night, had to end the live abruptly because of some unredacted information. I've now redacted that information. Char and I have both put up the full video of that enhanced audio without any of our feelings, any interruptions, any of that in a standalone video. I think you addressed that, but I just wanted to say that. And then, Dodie, I started your comment. Does anyone know anything about little Gus from Australia? I don't know who you're talking about. I've not heard of it. So in, I think, my description box, I have my email. If you want to email me something, I'd be happy to take a look at it. I'm sure Charmaine would too, because I don't know what you were meaning. But again, I just, like I said, they talk about him shaking his head yes, and we've all paid attention to that. But when he said, I did not kill Lily and Jack, he shook his head no, and that really, really bugs me.
So if we can just put this into context, 8 months ago, like I said, if you just, I don't know, let's close our eyes and imagine a world where Daniel is trustworthy, whatever. Okay, just pretend with me. We can do this, you guys. We can do it. He is truly convinced that Malehya has the kids somewhere. Now he gets knocked off of that by the polygraph test and the RCMP focusing on the murder of Jack and Lily. So now he is like, I am sure, I am convinced Malehya has to have these kids. She knows what happened to the kids. So if we think of it, all of this information or his behavior coming from that perspective, that he truly believed that Malehya had his kids, that obviously puts, to me, a different spin on what we're watching here. But these guys don't even, to me, these guys don't even know that that's in his head, but we know that that's publicly what he was saying that he believed. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though we might not believe that he truly believed that, we might think that he knows what happened to the kids at that time. And since then, he has been believing that the kids were taken. Obviously, who was involved has evolved. But you know what I mean? Like, that's information that the behavior panel did not have. But that could be
So,
the reason why he's, I don't know. I don't know.
so let me ask you this, Charmaine. If he truly believes, and I'm not trying to be snarky here, because you know how I feel about this case and you know what I think, but if he truly believes that Malehya or somebody in her family or somebody else, some random Joe Smo down the street took the kids, why is not him nor anybody else begging for their safe return?
Well, I'm going to throw that right back at you. You know me and you know what I think about this case. And I will say I don't disagree with that at all. And furthermore, I don't think Daniel truly believes it either. If Daniel is completely innocent, I don't think this guy right here believes for 1 second that somebody came in and took those kids and has them hidden somewhere. I don't believe that he truly believes that.
I have to agree.
I don't.
I
I
don't
don't.
think that any of them truly believe that the kids are quote unquote abducted type missing, as opposed to something happened and they're no longer with us. And everybody knows me and knows I'm quite blunt, but let's face it, they are 6 and I'm having a stupid moment.
They're 5 and
5.
Lily will be 7 here right away. I
Yeah.
think next week. I don't know what date it is, but very soon. She'll be
So
7.
a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old are not able to go out and just run away and provide for themselves and, you know, get the necessities that they need, shelter, water,
And
whatever.
not leave a single trace. Not
Exactly.
a single trace. A blanket and maybe possibly perhaps a boot print. Like, you got to give me a small break.
Exactly. And there's no boot print leading or a trace of the kids leading up to that boot print. And I've said it before, a 6 and 4-year-old at the time are not going to leave home, be able to walk through the woods, rub up against branches, rub up against the dirt, walk in the mud, and all of these things, and not leave a scent for a scent dog, not leave boot tracks that you can actually track. There's just a random boot print up on the pipeline. Like, come on now. If they would have walked away, there would be evidence. And they can't just disappear into thin air. It wasn't a beam me up, Scotty type situation. Let's be honest. But they're not, if they truly walked away and they weren't taken, there is, in my opinion here, no way statistically that they would be able to provide for themselves and still be alive. So even if Daniel or Cheryl or anybody thought that they walked away on their own, where's the evidence of it? Why can't we trace it? And why haven't they been found?
Cool. Yeah, he absolutely did. The very first conversation I had with Daniel on May 30th, he absolutely did. 100%. But I have come to believe with my whole heart, based on Janie's own words, that Durwood is the one that gave them that scenario. I don't know his motive. I don't know where he got it from, but I think that during those first couple of weeks, I think that Durwood thought that, really truly believed that, and that's where these guys got it from. Do you
Yeah,
remember
Daniel
back
has
in the early
definitely
days?
said that Malea's family took the kids. He said it more than once.
Absolutely. The case when Cindy and Malaya were talking about Cindy and Wade coming to Daniel's with a U-Haul, Malaya stopped Cindy and said, "I have another plan." No, I don't. I remember hearing about the U-Haul, absolutely, but I don't remember hearing or seeing any conversation between Cindy and Malaya, the two people who the kids would recognize and the two people that refused to show their faces or have their voices heard. So no, with respect, absolutely do not remember that happening. I remember we heard about it, but that
But
means
didn't we
nothing
hear
to
about
me.
that from Durwood? I think
Probably.
even on Sonny's Live, where he said that 2 weeks prior they were going to rent a U-Haul and go get her. And she said, no, I had another plan. But that didn't actually come from Cindy or Malaya or hell, even Daniel at this point.
Do I need to pull up my text messages with Daniel? He did. I'm telling you right now. He believed, he told me he believed that Cindy is behind it. Cindy hated him, wanted to get Malaya away, and orchestrated the kids being taken to get Malaya to leave. He absolutely did. 100% to me, he did. And I showed it on Sunny's Live. Just saying.
I think that's actually in the document, actually, those messages.
Why would they talk to you? You take Derwood and Kent as experts in this case. Do I? Who are you? You're obviously new here. I absolutely do not, but thanks for joining. I love the view. Anyway,
That's funny.
that is fucking funny. Like the reason I left Sunny's channel. Like, thanks, no thanks. That's comical. Anyways, I was going to share this.
Chicken
Oh,
Whisperer.
the video, no. No, you're right, he didn't. It was a text conversation on May 30th between Daniel and I. He absolutely did. But your video, you're right. He could have said it on the video. He's always been very careful publicly, though, about blaming Malaya. You know, he didn't want to paint her in a negative light, blah, 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 but he did. But very publicly in his interviews, he was very careful about that. He's always been very careful about that. I agree. Sorry. Go ahead.
Chicken Whisperer said, didn't Wade say that about the U-Haul in his interview with Tant? I would very loosely call that an interview, because it wasn't really, I don't think, in my opinion, an interview. But yeah, I do remember he did mention that in the audio that Charmaine and I have both uploaded, where you can, with the enhanced audio, took out the background noise, took out some of the long pauses. Like she said, I took the personal info out, but other than that, I didn't edit it. But yeah, it's in there and you can clearly hear it.
This is kind of funny. What quiet part out loud? Everything I say is out loud. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, or she. I'm confused. Daniel said on his ZT show that she was shushing Lily and put finger to his lips. Oh, really? Did he? I don't watch DT, unfortunately. He also said that Lily had the backpack and used for overnights with Cindy. He did. He absolutely did. I believe they likely both know what happened, but one maybe has something on the other. Where's the line, though? Where's the boundary? Is it after losing the baby to CPS? Or hundreds of false accusations about him to CPS? Or is it the indictable offenses that he has been charged with? Like, where's the boundary? When do you turn on somebody? When do you stop protecting somebody? You know what I mean? I mean, I would have bought into it until all this stuff. I just. Shenanigans said after talking to Malaya's mom, Cindy, that the U-Haul piece that was out in the public was inaccurate. I understand, Odessa, and maybe it is, but my question would be, so we heard from Wade on Tint's video audio about the U-Haul months ago, and I would venture to guess it would be in the summertime, August, possibly September. Why did it take until March 2nd for Cindy to come out and clarify that? Not even publicly, but to a YouTuber. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that would I would want to clear that up. I would want to clear that up a lot sooner than months and months and months later. It's the only reason I don't give it any credibility. Because that followed up an interview where she wouldn't show her face. So I just, you know.
But Cindy can say it's inaccurate all she wants. We've heard it more than once from more than one person.
No, me either. True that. Absolutely. I think it was that they didn't show up in a U-Haul, not that the U-Haul wasn't being talked about. I didn't, I don't, yeah, I don't think that YouTube caught on to them. They showed up with a U-Haul. I think we all just, we were under the assumption that they had a U-Haul ready to go for the next day, or, you know what I mean, Squid? Like, I don't know. But I mean, if it was me, which I can't relate, but I would like to think that I would want to come out and say, Wade, number one, you were recorded by this stranger saying all this shit by a stranger. Number two, what U-Haul? You know, I would try to get the word out somehow. Yep. That's just me. I just don't know. We do not know why Meadow was removed to CPS, only speculation, correct? Well, we kind of do, just in that they had um, a supervision order, and Malaya left. She took the baby outside of that supervision order. I guess we're assuming, you know, but fair. Do you happen to know if the documents, did the police look into the kid's bedroom window or behind the RV trailer? I was told that it was searched thoroughly, inside and out, both trailer and RV,
Yes,
is what I
because
was
we did
told.
that one live where we looked at the top of Janie's trailer and we were trying to figure out what the lumps were or whatever you want to call it. And we were told then that they had thoroughly searched it. This is another one that I had starred for you. But why did Daniel say it's criminal but won't turn into a criminal case? And there's more that meets the eye. And I think that, again, for me, it goes back to he knows more than what he's saying. And, you know, the RCMP did say, and they came out and said in that one TV interview that they did, that they told the family to be careful of what they share. Not that they couldn't talk to media, but to be careful of what they shared. And I think that the kids still being missing under the Missing Persons Act, if I understood you right, Shar, it gives them more resources or something like that, right? Isn't that what you had said, something to that effect?
Like less red tape to get search warrants approved and whatnot. It's quicker when you're looking for missing. If it's a missing persons investigation, just more access, just quicker access to stuff like that.
But I don't think
Um,
that it's going to turn criminal, really, in my opinion, until they get a little bit more information on what
well, they have to
really
have proof
happened.
of a crime.
Yeah,
And to me, like, I don't understand it, because there's definitely proof of a crime at, at this point. And if you guys look into the criminal code, find me what you think they should be, not right now because we're not doing this today, but find me what you think they could be charged with under neglect. That, not just like a summary neglect charge that would be like a, slap on the wrist or whatever. Find me a serious neglect charge, because we have no proof of life, but we also have no proof of death, right? So yes, were they neglectful that morning? Absolutely, but we don't know what the RCMP have been told about that morning. Was it really? Have I ever spoken to Cindy? No, I've reached out. She didn't answer, and that's fine. We're talking months ago.
but the
Months ago.
lack of evidence, in my opinion, is evidence itself in this case.
Yeah. Inconsistent statements is enough to investigate as criminal. Well, according to the officer that I spoke to, I actually brought up inconsistency to them, and that's not how a judge would see it. So it's just in their best interest to keep it a Missing Persons Act investigation at this time. Don't ask me. Obviously, those of us who think we know better than everybody else on the planet, we would do things much differently. But the fact is, we're not in the major crimes unit, so um, not as many resources available if it's criminal, right? That's just kind of less red tape. Less red tape. That's how it reads in the missing person section. Yeah. So, okay, you guys. Well, that's the Jack and Lily conversation for today. I absolutely appreciate the conversation and the behavior panel for their take. I'm gonna watch Malehya's and see if it's worth revisiting it again. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if it's valuable for us to rewatch it. But I just thought the Daniel one was kind of interesting, knowing what we know now. Um, I agree. Darius, unfortunately, we have no updates. I believe it was September 23rd. It's 21st, September 21st. He was camping in the Crow's Nest Pass in Alberta, right along the Alberta BC border, and he went missing. There's no I'll just read this. So, while camping with family near Island Lake, approximately 2.5 miles south of the Crow's Nest Pass in Livingstone Public Land Use Zone. I drove by there a few months ago, and it's a camping area, but that's what it's called, Public Land Use Zone. He was last seen wearing a blue-gray hoodie and sweatpants. Darius is approximately 4 feet tall with short brown hair and has a medical and developmental condition that may prevent him from responding to searchers. Because his disappearance did not meet the legal criteria for an Amber Alert, a child search alert was issued through the Missing Children Society of Canada in partnership with the RCMP. On September 21st, 2025, the family was packing up camp after a weekend gathering that included multiple children. Darius, his cousin, and another child crossed a shallow creek to play on a small island immediately beside the campsite, an area they knew well from previous visits. Around 20 minutes later, the two children returned without Darius. They reported he was missing. The family members searched in the opposite directions while Darius's grandmother called 911. RCMP and search and rescue began mobilizing within minutes. So between September 21st and October 1st, 2025, over 11,000 volunteer hours were spent searching, including 400 plus professional and volunteer search and rescue members from Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan, RCMP helicopters, drones, K9 units, underwater search teams, ATVs, and mountain search teams, dense, rugged alpine terrain spanning 22 square kilometers. Search teams use specialized strategies because Darius is autistic and may not react to verbal calling. His favorite music was broadcast during some of the searches in hopes he would respond. Despite the extensive resources, no trace of Darius or his belongings were found. After 11 days with no findings, the physical search was formally suspended on October 1st, 2025. The RCMP stated that the investigation remains active and there is no credible evidence at this time to confirm an abduction. Heard that before. The family continues to maintain their own search efforts. His step-grandfather has remained at the campsite for weeks, refusing to leave the last place he saw Darius. The family strongly believes more can be done and have publicly expressed concern over the Amber Alert criteria in cases where a child goes missing near a highway, provincial border, or a large wilderness area. They continue to ask Albertans to keep searching and keep sharing. At this time, the RCMP has confirmed there is no evidence of foul play or abduction. No, Lynn, they're not still out there now. It's far too cold out there, but I strongly suspect that they will be back out there. But I just it's a sad case. It's just as bizarre as Jack and Lily's case, and we, you know, I would like to keep I keep sharing the stuff like his auntie Trina and some of his other family members, they're constantly sharing information, and I also share it to my page as well. But the second that I hear of a search going on, I will share that, and hopefully, I know that we've tried to put them in contact with Please Bring Me Home. Because we're not connected, we don't know if that's happened or not. But if there is a search, I will let everybody know, and I do plan to be there for that and the family if there is a search going on. So this is sadly the only update I could find. Um, um, she did. Of course, Wade has no reason to be obscure. Cindy, 10 months later, does. I also got shut down, and Susan was very rude to me when I simply explaining to someone who asked that the horse trailer thing was. It's a shame. Oh. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Just so you know, whoever that person was who's like, whatever they said, I don't even remember because it's that insignificant to me. I didn't even block them. I don't know if my mods did, but that's like how tolerant I am. Come on in. Troll. Do you? Do you want to answer that, Melissa? Again?
Yeah.
Let's
So
just make a video.
right, I probably should. I might do that later. So somebody, I don't know who, I have it narrowed down to a couple ideas, but somebody reported my channel as spam, and they didn't. There was no other explanation given besides spam. So I'm currently fighting to get my old channel back. But if one of the mods would drop the link to the new channel, you can go over and sub to it. We're trying to get it up. And like I said, I'm still fighting to get the old channel back. But I have some questions for you, Shar, because I've shared Darius's picture, but I haven't really talked about him. And there's a lot of things I haven't been able to ask. But when he was, I'm gonna say taken, because I kind of feel like that's where we're at. When he disappeared, I guess. Is there like at that campsite, is there like a sign in, sign out, they know who's in what spot? Were there
No.
cameras? And did they look into anybody who left the campsite right around that same time of his disappearance? Do we know any of that?
I can't say for certain, but from the family members that I have talked to, no, none of that was done. Just a all-out search and rescue was performed. It was not unlike Jack and Lily's case. Did not meet the criteria for an Amber Alert. The scene was not, secured. It was just boots on the ground. Let's go search everybody and anybody. Let's get out there and find Darius with absolutely no thought of cordoning off, checking cars, absolutely nothing like that. And it is very close to the highway. I can see if I can find the video. It was in the wintertime. Like I said, this was back in January. We were traveling from Salmon Arm to Lethbridge, and we drove through the Crow's Nest Pass. And I did find this spot, this place, and it is right next to the highway.
So I mean, it wouldn't be unheard of for somebody
But
to
that little island
snatch him
isn't.
and be able to run.
The little island that the children were playing on was not next to the highway. The access to get into the camping area was. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what to think. Sorry, go ahead. What other questions?
That was really my only questions, because I really feel like this is more, and I know it's rare. You don't have to give me the statistics on it. I know it's rare, but I really feel like this is either a stranger abduction, which is kind of where I lean towards, or possibly he, fell in the water or something. But if that would have happened, in my opinion, they would have found him by now, or there would have been some evidence. But my gut is telling me this is a stranger abduction. And that's why I was wondering, was this a place that had, you had a permit to camp there? So they knew who was in which spot, or if there were cameras anywhere that would show who left right around the same time that Darius disappeared. And that was really my only questions. I really need to look into Darius more.
Yeah, but there's like no updates. I said the family and family friends are sharing every day, but there's nothing official new coming out, like they're just it's no different than Jack and Lily's case. There's just nothing new. But this one I can understand a little bit more. It's a camping area. It's not where the family lives full time. And the weather, I mean, I'm not going to say it's worse than Nova Scotia, but I mean the temperatures in Alberta get brutal. I'm not saying they don't there, but there's only so much you can do. If if you're if you're only focusing on the wandered away theory, you know? So I don't know.
Can we
There
watch
the
that video
family
right there
Sure.
that Trina Heron
Just
posted?
hang on. I have to reshare it because I did not share the audio, but I would love to share.
I mean, I'm open to anything with Darius, but I just, like I said, my gut is telling me it's a stranger abduction.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and play this.
Who let the dogs out? 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 Who let the dogs out?
Well, that's adorable.
He's so cute.
Yes. And little, and like I said, this is, you guys, this is how a family acts when their child is missing. Every day, they're on here, they're on their own Facebooks, they're on their own TikToks, their own social media, and they are spreading his face. They are asking people for help to share his face. They believe their child is out there somewhere and they are looking for him.
And they're showing their faces. They're
They
not
absolutely
hiding.
are. They absolutely are. There's no excuse for what's going on. And I just got bombarded. 1 second. We have a visitor somewhere. Where'd he go? He just like threw the door open, scared the ever living out of me. Harley, come here. He's doing this thing. Come here. Say hi to your people. Say hi. Say hi to your people. Hi, people. Hello.
Harley.
Oh, boy.
Such a good little puppy.
Oh, boy. Okay. Okay. I think that's my cue. He has I think he's got an internal clock when he says I've been online long enough. Puts his foot down and he's like, all right, Mom, that's enough of this shit. I need a bone.
He's
So,
like, pay attention to me, mommy.
Yet his dad is out there watching TV, so it's not like he's starving for attention. Can some closing thoughts, Melissa?
I really hope and pray that we can find Jack and Lily and Darius. And it just, I don't know. It really bugs me that nobody's talking, nobody's begging for their return. And as far as Jack and Lily go, when you compare how Jack and Lily's family, not including Belinda or Chelsea, but when you look at how they act compared to little Darius's family, it's night and day. And that's really sad. You had said that you also had an update on Tumbler Ridge. Do we have any information on how little Maya's doing?
Not um just a sec. I don't wanna See right there, I searched for her. See, I tried. I try. Um, let me just look for a second here because I do remember sharing something. It was from Maya's dad this time. And I also want to think about and talk about, um, like in an upcoming, can we make a list of all of the children who were failed, in my opinion, strictly due to um the Amber Alert criteria bullshit? Can we can we spend some time looking at the cases where the case did not meet the criteria required to issue an Amber Alert and how many of those children are still missing, you know? So I wanted to share this. This one isn't the one I was looking for, but anyways, Maya's dad took her outside and sat outside in the sun with her, and that was very nice. But this is even nicer. This is a 13-year-old boy. He said, I'm 13 years old. Like so many people, I haven't been able to stop thinking about Maya. She is a hero, a teammate to all of us, and a fighter. I recorded this version of Something in the Orange by Zach Bryan specifically for her and her mom, Sia. In the hockey world, we're a family, and when one of us is down, we all step up to help them get back on the ice. Maya, this one is for you. We are all looking at those orange and pink skies and sending every bit of strength we have to your hospital room. Keep fighting, hero. We have sticks out for you. Please keep the comments focused on sending love and prayers to Maya and the families in Tumbler Ridge. Respect only. Because obviously there are horrible human beings that would have shit to say to this little boy who is singing a song publicly for this little girl. So I want to listen to it, and I'll put the link, if I can get the link without giving you a link to my whatever. Doesn't matter. Let's listen.
Hi, Sia. It's Kyra. I'm sitting here thinking about Maya and the incredible fight she's putting up. I wanted to record this version of Something in the Orange for her. Maya, I'm a hockey player, and we're taught to never give up until the final whistle. But you're teaching us what real strength looks like right now. In this song, the orange is that glow that tells us a new day is coming. I'm playing this to send some of the light to you, your family, everyone who loves you. We're all waiting for that orange, for the moment you're back with us. Something in the orange tells me we're not done. This is for you, Maya. He'll be from my dust, but I'm telling you, baby. These things eat at your bones and drive your young mind crazy. But when you place your head between my collar and jaw, I don't know much, but there's no way at all. And I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. 'Cause if I say I miss you, I know that you do. But I miss you in the mornings when I see the sun. Something in the orange tells me we're not done. To you, I'm just a man. To me, you're all I am. Where the hell am I supposed to go? Forcing myself again. Something in the orange tells me you're not coming home. If you leave today, I'll just stare out the way. The orange touches all things round. Grass streets blue, how we just love you. Please turn those headlights around. Please turn those headlights around. Hi, Sia. It's Kyra.
Very nice. Very sweet. Very thoughtful. Very brave. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this
I'm sitting
link.
here thinking about Maya.
Put this in here so you guys can go check it out. Give him a like. Give him some support. Very brave of the little man. And Tam, yeah, that's terrible. So sorry for that. But beautiful effort. Beautiful song by this little man. So, again, would you like to say any final words? Let's gonna end it for Harley. So we'll
Just hopefully we can find Jack and Lily and they can get justice. Sorry, my dog's going off right now for some reason. But yeah, such a lovely young man, and hopefully she heals and gets better. And hopefully little Darius can come home.
so many kids. The criteria for the Amber Alert is it needs to be looked at again. But having said all that, thank you, Melissa, for joining. And everybody else, thanks for watching the whole time. Again, go check out the Wade audio, the full audio on both of our channels. Either one, it's a standalone video. You're not going to find it in the live section. You'll find it in the videos. Go check it out. It's a full thing, start to finish. And we will, I don't know, I need to do a Nancy and an Epstein live soon. So we'll get to it. Everybody, have a fantastic night. And oh, really? Email me, Tim. Let's figure it out. I may have. But have a great night, everybody.